So with Jenny Ann, we actually went to our regular neurology checkup. She had had MRIs and all before because she has the sacral dimple. So the sacral dimple has allowed, I think that was kind of our initial, that was kind of our initial symptom that we saw, because we wouldn't have really thought of anything. She was preemie. So when she was little, everything was pushed off as she was preemie, give her time to grow. And so we went when she was just a couple months old and had the sacral dimple checked. So she had a baseline MRI, and we had that on brain and on spine. And the reason they did the brain was because of her eyes. She had the ptosis, the droopy eyelid, and then she also had where her eyes were turning in, so the strabismus. So they were like, let's just kind of just do it all. And that's where we really kind of got the ball rolling. And it was our neurology who actually pushed for another genetic test. So Jenny Ann was diagnosed before her WSS diagnosis with thinning of the corpus callosum, the agenesis of the corpus callosum. So we had that diagnosis. And I kind of was, as I was looking through, I saw that there was the Chiari malformation, and some of the kiddos also had things with the corpus callosum. So I kind of thought, okay, we have the one, we don't have the other. I thought it was one or the other. And then when we got that call, I kind of had a feeling. They said, now, has she ever been diagnosed with Chiari malformation? And I said, no. But our story has a little bit of a different, because she not in the end did not have a Chiari diagnosis, textbook wise. So, because hers was 3 millimeters, and they say with the Chiari, it has to be at least 5, but she was just having such bad headaches. And Charlotte and I was talking back with her because Millie's was a lot more severe scan wise than Jenny Ann's was. And I was like, what in the world? Like, Millie had no symptoms, and here Jenny Ann is barely able to go outside and play because her head is just pounding. And with WSS, we know the kiddos sometimes have moments, and they'll have some tantrums or behavior. Well, I got to the point where Jenny Ann would fear getting upset or overwhelmed because she knew that a headache was going to follow it. So we were given the option when we first went to neurology or to the neurosurgery, if we wanted to operate or not. They said, we can do the decompression, or we don't have to. They said her spinal fluid, it is diminishing is how they labeled it, but it is not something that needs to be done immediately. If it is to be done, it will be a lifestyle. So we kind of thought it through, and the first couple weeks of summer, she couldn't even go out and play. She couldn't even, she would kind of start to get upset, and she would be like, my head, I can't. And that's just not Jenny Ann. So we called and we said, okay, we're going to have to do something. And they ended up operating as what they called a lifestyle operation. So it was just for the pain that she was having. It wasn't anything that had to be done. But when they went in, it was funny because coming back with WSS, you get reactions from doctors a lot that you just don't expect, because it does kind of baffle them sometimes. But when he came in, he was like, oh my goodness. He said that her skull, they knew based on the MRI that there was an abnormality, that it was shaped a little differently. But when they went in, they were just shocked at how different it was, because how her skull was shaped was the reason she was having the pain. It was a 4.5-hour surgery that was marked down to 2.5. She was supposed to be there for 4 nights. She was there for 1 night. Yes. So they were just like the whole staffing there. They were all like, she has recovered so well. She really did do well, but a lot of it was because they didn't have to go into the derma, and they didn't have to do that extra step of it. But that was one thing that he said was because of her, because of how the skull was shaped. And to me as a parent, it was to see his reaction. It just reminded me like why these kiddos are so special. Like we don't know much about WSS and the doctors don't know much about it either. And when he was like, he said it was shaped like a form of dwarfism. And so I guess that kind of goes with the short stature. But he said, they weren't expecting it. And it was how it came down, it was very sharp. So it was just pushing down onto her spinal cord, causing the flow to be affected and causing the pain. We are doing a chili cook-off and it's October 16th. So it is going to be outside, and we did it in October because we're in Georgia. And so I wanted to do it around the Awareness Day in September, but I was like, it is still so hot in September. So we decided Jenny Ann in November will be her 3-year diagnosis mark. So we're going to do it in between the two.